It's a special edition of Compas on the Beat. We will preview Super Bowl Wildcard Weekend in 5 parts. And this is an episode all about the Seattle Seahawks going to San Francisco to face the 49ers on Saturday afternoon. Obviously, I'm Fernando Ramirez. We got Gilberto Manzano, Dan and Daygo, Vic the producer, all here to talk about it and break it all down. The Niners are favored by 9.5 points. No one is giving Seattle a chance. Let's start this roundtable by saying, how can the Seahawks pull this upset off? We need to go in order to hear from everyone. So let's get this going, guys. Vic, the producer, how do you feel? What can the Seahawks do to pull this upset off?
Well, it's going to be very tough, but one of the things is you're going to have to get the ball to DK Metcalf and your other receivers because you won't be able to run the ball on this team. I mean, they allowed, 77 yards a game on the ground, so it's going to be tough to run the ball on this team. So you're going to have to rely on your playmakers on the outside and your tight ends. One of the things that's helped out Seattle is when they use their tight ends. They got about 3 really good tight ends that they can use with Geno Smith.
The cowboy hat wearing, sunglass donning son of a gun. What do you think?
Woo! I think the biggest thing is you need to let Pete Carroll be Pete Carroll on defense. You need to confuse Brock Purdy. That's going to be the key to all of it. Obviously, stopping the run game. Make Brock Purdy uncomfortable. Make him show signs that he's a rookie. Because this is playoff football. Regular season football is one thing, but playoff football is another. That's what separates the boys from the men. And I think that's the key to victory right there. You have got to make them uncomfortable so they can't score points. And other than that, I would leave a few nasty notes on the 49er sideline and hope Shanahan chokes like he likes to. So,
So Dan and Dago says, make Mr. Irrelevant.
Exactly.
Gilberto, what do you think?
It's tough, man, because even Pete Carroll was like, oh, unfortunately, we got the 49ers, but we're in. Ugh. And, yeah, they got beat down 2 times already in the regular season by the 49ers. So usually it's kind of the case when you have somebody's number, you usually beat them 3 times. But the other side is like it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And the only thing I keep thinking about for the Seahawks is like if you look at the offense on paper, like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, like they can compete with the 49ers. Like my other topic I want to talk about is like Brock Purdy. Like he's 5-0. He's been good. He's been better than Jimmy G, right? That's kind of safe to say. But it's a playoff. It's a whole different beast. And if Geno Smith kind of gets hot, which he sometimes he does, he didn't really do it in those 2 Ram games that I cover. But when he throws a DK and he has Tyler Lockett, he's a good down the field guy. DK's a big dude. And, but the problem is the 49ers defense is also really good. And Brock Purdy's been putting up the points. Like, what can you find there? And maybe the thing that I go to, if Kenneth Walker finally finds that first kind of month of the season or when he finally became the starter, like he was on a different level. Like, he's getting better every single week. I think he might have like 3 games in a row over 100 yards rushing, but they kind of been quiet. If he's pounding the rock, like Dan Daigle says, controls the clock. That's the only way I feel like this team could compete with the 49ers. But I like the wide receivers. Maybe they get in a shootout. I don't know. Maybe that's better for the Seahawks.
Yeah, no, I agree with what each of you is saying. The interesting part about this game is that this is the second time that the Seahawks are going to see this version of the 49ers with Brock Purdy. So this is going to be interesting to see if they have something maybe different to throw at him because it is the second time. And usually we know, Gilbert, we saw it in 2018. Chargers played the Baltimore Ravens once. Lamar got the better of them. The second time they had a better package to go up against them. So sometimes the second time around, especially a guy like Pete Carroll, who knows defenses and knows how to scheme well, I feel like he's going to throw something different at Brock Purdy. So I'm with Dan. I think it has to be the defense. The defense going to have to slow their offense down. They're going to kind of have to get into one of those low-scoring kind of mini shootouts, I guess, in a sense. Yeah, what were you going to say?
No, my bad. I was going to say the low scoring is going to play to their advantage because you saw they didn't look too good last week. So they need to for sure be as creative as possible. And you know what? The thing that I think we're overlooking too also is that 49ers versus the Seahawks in the playoffs, that's a freaking rivalry, dude. Remember the years with the LOB and the That's what is it? That's what you're gonna get. When you like with the story ass receiver like Crabtree.
What are you mad about, Richard?
Oh yeah,
that's my favorite part.
Don't you talk about the best?
Name drops Crabtree, and the reporter still has the audacity to ask, "Who was talking?" Blame
So that's going to be interesting to
TBT.
me. I think if he can kind of rattle him, that is going to be interesting. But I really feel like the 49ers are going to feed off the energy off the crowd. There's something special when it comes to the 49ers and their fans. I really do feel like they feed off of the energy. I was going to say Candlestick at Levi Stadium. Obviously, they're going to feed off of them. But Dan, obviously, Brock Purdy's 5-0. He's gotten it done. Can he get it done in this playoff game against the Seahawks? Do you feel like Brock has enough to be able to get it done, Dan, from what you've seen from him?
You know what? I think this is my thing right here, right? I'm a student of history, which shout out, I'm going to go get a master's hopefully soon. But I'm a student of history, right? And you saw this something similar with the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. I've mentioned this several times because of Doug Peterson making it to the playoffs and everything else. Shout out, Dan missed strikes again, won the division. That's all right. We're not going to get into it. And that's the thing, right? You saw Jimmy G go. You saw Trey Lance go down first off. Dang, everybody's nervous, but they got Jimmy G. Jimmy G goes down. I think, seriously, this is my humble opinion. If Brock Purdy was going to crumble, you would have already seen it in these 5 games. I think the playoffs is just going to elevate him. And I don't think he's going to, obviously depending on what Pete Carroll throws at him. But I think if you were going to see this kid crumble, you would have already seen it happen, right? Like, you're literally the last pick in the draft. You're in the NFL. Never thought you were going to play in your first year. You've been called upon. And then you've had to obviously perform. And the thing that I think sometimes is overlooked is Kyle Shanahan putting him in the right positions to win. I've said this time and time again on this program, and the receipts will show. I think oftentimes the reason offenses or players in offenses aren't successful is because coaching doesn't allow them to be successful. When you're coaching some of these players in the league, and mind you, this is my assumption before everybody comes at me. I understand I don't coach in the league, but this is my assumption. When you coach in the league, it's all about seeing what your players are good at and building off of that. Not, hey, this is my system. You're the X, you're the Y, and we're going to run it like this and that. Like it doesn't work like that. When you don't give people ownership over something, they have no buy-in. They won't really care. They'll just try and run it however, and it's not as effective in my humble correct opinion.
Then they go, I'm coming at you for a different reason. You're wasting your time getting a master's degree in history. You won't make any money. Sorry. I've been holding that in my head. You're wasting your time. Nobody cares about history. We care about moving forward. And going to Brock Purdy, looking at history, he's been pretty good. But looking forward for Brock Purdy, it's the playoffs. But even when even when you change and you get a little more aggressive in the playoffs, I feel like it doesn't matter if Brock Purdy brings it down a notch because, just kind of dump it off with Deebo Samuel. CMC, you want to throw it? You want to catch it? You want to run it? Okay, make my life easier. So I just don't see anything here that can make the Seahawks win this game. But Victor, maybe you see something else. I really don't see it right now.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are working in his favor right now. Not only is, like you talked about, he's 5-0, but the 49ers are 10-0. They're on a 10-game winning streak. They're trying to join, the likes of the 72 Dolphins and the 2003 Patriots to be able to win 14 games in a row in a season. So it's impressive what they're doing. The one thing that I hate hearing from people is like, there's no film on him. It's only been 5 games. He's going to crumble eventually. It's hard for me to see that just because of the system that they run with Shanahan. He's been really good in putting quarterbacks in the right position. And until they face somebody like the Eagles, it should be, not a cakewalk to the title game. I think they'll have their ups and downs here and there, but the 49ers are just stacked on defense. That defense is going to carry them, and Brock Purdy is just going to be another player who helps them get there.
And obviously, Brock Purdy has just gotten one of the biggest weapons on his team back in Deebo Samuel. So, I mean, it's only going to get better from here. I think the other running back, Elijah Mitchell, is supposed to be back also. So they're only getting weapons back. They're getting healthier at the right time, and I think that's only going to help this offense. The only thing is, I mean, can the tackles hold up? Their right tackle. Can their right tackle hold up? Mike McGlinchey's been okay this season. He's kind of been up and down. So that's going to be the thing. You got to get this kid protection. You got to give him time. But it's like Dan said, Shanahan has really simple. That's the one thing. I mean, I know that he's choked a couple of times and in 2 Super Bowls and everything, but Shanahan really does do a good job with these guys, and he's able to plug in whatever quarterback he needs to into his system, and he makes it work. Why? Because Shanahan's willing to kind of put his ego to the side and say, okay, I'm going to plug you in. What works for you? What do you need? And then obviously they go through it and they do it. But it's like Dan said, this kid never expected, I think in a million years, hey, I'm going to be playing in the playoffs in my first season. So it's going to be interesting to watch him. But 5-0, I think the kid really, I think the kid has some spunk. I think he has some talent. He's thrown 14 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. So I really think that the kid has some juice in it, and I really think he's going to be very good. But
you know what the other thing is, real quick, that we forgot to mention also, the reemergence, in my opinion, of George Kittle, I think has been huge for this team. Because they signed him to that huge contract, and then
like 8 touchdowns in the last 4
games. You didn't really hear anything from him because he was essentially just blocking, which mind you, he's a great blocker also. But I think ever since Purdy got in there, that's where you've seen him, step it up and level up, and he's been killing it for him.
I love WWE George Kittle.
Don't forget about Brandon Ayuk too, man.
Yeah, Ayuk has been huge.
Don't tell me Ayuk. Don't tell me Ayuk. He screwed me in fantasy football final once again. Hadn't done anything, and of course, the last week of the season goes off. He was on my bench. I'm not happy. I hate fantasy football.
Nobody cares.
So obviously, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know how this whole group is going to go, but I'm going to start off with Vic. Vic, what do you think? Who you got?
I think it's gonna turn ugly fast. I think it's gonna be something like 35-12 or 14. I just don't see how Seattle stays in it. I mean, they struggle against the Rams at home. And then now you're having to go down to a team who's averaging 33 points since Brock Purdy took over. I don't know how they stay in this game. The only thing that helps is that it's a divisional game.
Dan and Daygo, who you got?
You know what? It was funny. I was figuring everybody was going to go the same way, and I was going to go Seattle, but I just really, in good conscience, I can't see it. I can't see it just because, like we've talked about, the 49ers are just hot right now, and Seattle didn't really have a good Week 18 showing, so I don't know how much stock I buy in that. And so I think, seriously, the D-line of the 49ers is what's going to control this game. So, yeah, I think it's going to be the 49ers.
I can't do it. Dan, my voice kind of hurt. Can you call on the next person, please?
Oh, I got it. I got you. Don't worry. The next person you're going to hear from on your favorite program is Fernando. That stooge, that scumbag, Gilberto!
What's your score prediction?
Thank you, sir. Let me just say real quick. If somehow, some way, Geno Smith gets cooking, and he turns this game into I know he turns this game into a shootout. That's the only way they could win this game, because I don't know, maybe at some point you take it to this, like the Raider game, right? They took it to that defense and they got to overtime and they just made it close. It's just, for some reason, Geno threw 4,000 yards, but they don't seem like a high explosive offense. And DK and Tyler are good, but don't do this old school football with Kenneth Walker. It's not going to work. I feel like. So I think they're going to cover the 49ers 33-20. It's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a blowout. San Francisco wins. I'll say 37-20. I really think that San Francisco is going to go ballistic. I think the crowd's going to get into it, and I think the fans are going to go nuts for it. But guys, don't forget to check out the next video that we will have is the Dolphins at the Bills. So don't forget to check out. We got Dolphins, Bills, Giants, Vikings, Ravens at Bengals, Cowboys, Buccaneers. We got it all. Don't forget to check out the rest of our videos.